Hello there, this is James Oscroft, it is 1978, and before I move on from this series and finally put it behind me, as an epilogue, I want to respond to a comment from a both sides, definitely not insecure Whiteboi, on the re-upload of part 2 of this series, which you can find in the full playlist, links down at the underbar, that apparently has since been deleted. A comment that, if memory serves, basically boiled down to, you say that Hitler believed race was the defining foundation of every political and social issue, but you call us white boys, so you're just as bad. Because leaving aside the fact that the commenter was honestly equivocating between the genocidal social Darwinism of the Nazi regime and me calling people white boy as an admittedly childish and petty insult, as well as in this specific case calling out their hypocritical condemnation of hashtag identity politics when their politics are entirely based upon their identity, long before I received that comment, back when I was still making the original series, I did seriously wonder whether it would have been better to give these insecure white boys another name. After all, as that comment demonstrated, by using the term white, I've fallen into the same trap as white feminism, the derogatory term used to call out bourgeois feminists who only really care about and fight for the rights and equality of straight, white, middle-class, able-bodied, neurotypical and mentally healthy cis women and girls, ignoring, if not outright opposing, the struggle of trans women, women of colour, poor women, disabled women, and everyone else for whom feminism is often literally a matter of survival, not merely of representation on screen, and so forth. Because by using the term white to call out their self-serving ignorance, privilege and exclusivity, if not outright racism, people who use the term white feminism are forced to waste valuable time and the limited attention of their audience explaining that no, we don't mean all feminists who are white, and a lot of feminists of colour and what have you are white feminists as well, which is to say, token supporters of white feminism, because it's not about ethnicity, it's about the fact that whether it's unconsciously or not, they prioritise the struggles of straight, white, middle-class, able-bodied, mentally healthy and neurotypical cis women and girls over the struggles of everyone else. And similarly, far from being what I label as insecure white boys because of some genetic quirk or defect, or some fundamental fatal flaw in the supposed white character, the people who I called out in this series are merely straight, white, able-bodied, neurotypical and mentally healthy cisgendered men and boys, along with their token supporters, who, having been born into a society which was built by people like us, for people like us, and raised to believe that we are naturally superior upon the backs of those who they self-servingly deem to be inferior and thus exploitable, just happen to have been born into an age when the pendulum is swinging, an age in which, within our lifetime, we will cease to be the dominant social group, and rather than simply getting over their self-righteous entitlement and moving forward with the rest of the world like we are, they would rather believe that everyone from Greta Thunberg and Anita Sarkeesian to Joe Biden are all conspiring to deny their rightful destiny as John Galt. But over the course of the last 2 years or more that I've been making this series, including the original uploads, I've realised that even if I'd called insecure white boy syndrome something else entirely, without mentioning the ethnicity or gender of the people in question, although on the plus side this would have expanded the scope and range of my videos to include the fascist front lash of Orthodox Hindus in India, Zionists in Israel, and ultra-nationalists in Japan, I would still have been accused of reverse racism, misandry, cisphobia, heterophobia, and everything else under the sun by the same kind of people who sincerely believe that OK Boomer is the new N-word, that cis and Karen are cisphobic and misogynistic slurs, and that toxic masculinity is the declaration that all men are poisonous scum. Because, as I've now explained repeatedly in the past and will no doubt continue to explain in the future, since the sole aim, goal and purpose of what we know as insecure white boy syndrome is to make themselves feel better by fighting back against the tide of progress, condemning it at every turn, and clinging on to what they perceive as their privileged position within the status quo, regardless of how much they would benefit from progress, they are opportunists who will believe, think, do and say whatever is necessary necessary to dismiss and smear anyone who threatens that status quo, and then contradict themselves in the very next breath when dismissing and smearing the next perceived threat. Condemning Black Lives Matter as reverse racist black supremacists, not because it didn't call itself Black Lives Matter too, but because doing so allows them to feel morally superior regardless of a particular movement's name.